Alright, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Rule 34 podcast. I'm your host Jack, joined by my fellow co-hosts.
DC_skilled.
Alright, so got a very special episode planned today, so we're gonna get through the introductions pretty quick. First off, Dom, how are you? How have you been in this past week?
Pretty good. Finals weeks has arrived and it's here. It's been kicking me a lot around, but we're still not done yet. This upcoming Monday, is my final set of exams, so I'm gonna have to get prepared for that. But other than that, things been okay. I've invested $400 in Dogecoin, and I made back $11. So I guess that's something.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, $400 is not much, but you never know. Well, what if Dogecoin maybe one day grows into Bitcoin, and it could be $1,000 per Bitcoin.
True.
That's what, 400 grand, or maybe my maths are wrong. But or 40,000 maybe, I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty. How would you say it?
Good week.
Stable so far.
Very similarly, I had midterms from last week till now. I had my midterm for one of my classes, which is a quiz, and I had my midterm for one of my other classes, which was kind of like a short mini essay. And boy, did I get the biggest scare today, because as I told you, Dom, my class for today that was tied with the midterm. The teacher was giving people who wanted to do the midterm in the Zoom class that option. So from 9 to 10:30, she was going to give them that option. And if they needed more time, because the midterms due at 11, she was going to put them in a breakout room if they needed to continue working. And everyone else, if you submitted the midterm beforehand, finished it before and submitted it before, you just had to show up at 10:30 for the actual Zoom class, for the Zoom lecture. And I woke up at 10:20 to get prepared and everything, and I woke up to an email from one of my from the TA that I have for that class, telling me that the midterm I submitted, the essay, was blank for some reason on her document. And so I kept trying to resubmit it, and even up until when we were in the lecture class, we were still emailing, asking what to do, and she told me, just luckily I was able to just email it to her, the document, and there it was finally showing up, all my work. So everything was solved, and thankfully my midterm was submitted properly.
It's nice, man. Probably.
Yeah, but other than that, pretty good week. Kind of boring. Actually, yeah, this week kind of been boring, because because there's not much going on. It was a whole thing of just trying to find stuff to do when there wasn't classwork.
Yeah.
And recently, as I showed you as well, I recently bought both Pokemon Snap and Nier Replicant, which is the remake of Nier, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So got those two games. I haven't tried Nier Replicant yet, because just like Automata, though I've already put hours in Automata, I'm trying to take my time with those type of games, But Pokemon Snap, since it's a very laid back game, I started and really enjoyed it a lot.
It's good, bro.
Alright, so pretty good. We got all these introductions done in 5 minutes, and that's because if you're wondering why, it's because today we return with the previous segment of explaining wrestling to Dom, or getting Dom's opinion on certain things from wrestling. Well, explaining certain things from wrestling to Dom. And recently, this match and this feud came back to me, and I just remembered how great it was. And so I thought, and I seen how crazy this whole match was. I thought, why not show it to a non-wrestling fan like Dom and get his opinions on it? So, for context, this match occurred in a promotion known as Lucha Underground, and it was a wrestling promotion that ran from 2014 to 2018. Now, unlike most wrestling promotions, Lucha Underground was almost treated like a television show. And you hear the word lucha, so you know it obviously has Hispanic ties to it, right, Dom? And very much in that way, it kind of had a novela type style to it, where, you know, it was very dramatic. There was a continuous story for it, right? But there was also like side stories, you know. And though it was the lucha style, there was still a different variety of wrestling on the show, and different variety of wrestlers with different types of styles. And it actually had seasons.
Oh, okay.
It had 4 seasons, and it was actually filmed here in Boyle Heights and in downtown Los Angeles.
Oh, what?
And the place they filmed it, it was a really cool setup. They called it the Temple. But yeah, it was filmed in Boyle Heights.
Right.
And sometimes in downtown Los Angeles, like I said. But so that was this whole promotion, you know, running this like television type wrestling promotion where it had seasons. It had like a continuous story that it was building to, while also having side stories that were being built and finished off throughout the seasons, you know.
Right.
And one of the side stories came in season 3 between 2 wrestlers known as Killshot and Dante Fox. Killshot was a former military soldier. That, like, this was his character, right? Obviously, like, it wasn't like real. Like, this was his character in the promotion. Killshot was a former military soldier, and one day when he's wrestling a match, and he's getting defeated in like the aftermath of it, a man walks down to the ring, but like nobody in the temple, not even like the commentators commentating, like recognize him. But you see, Killshot does, like, you know, like he's essentially like grasping onto him, looking at him like as like trying to make sure he's real, and he hugs him.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, the man beats him down, and it's later revealed, like in the next coming episodes, that the man is known as Dante Fox, who is also a former soldier. In fact, he was Killshot's partner, who Killshot left for dead in the Middle East. This is all the essentially the context and lore behind all this.
Yeah.
And so then they had a match, or they tried to team together because, you know, being former partners, but, you know, the whole thing of being left for dead is too much for Dante to forgive Killshot for, and so they have fights, and then they have a match in which Dante won, and you think that's the end of it, but then later in a tournament for a shot at like their title, Killshot is facing someone when Dante comes out and costs him the match, so that continues to build the feud. And it continues building with all these frustrations, all these brawls between the two, where we finally get to like the payoff of this entire rivalry of the feud.
Okay.
Now, here's the main part I want to get your before reaction and after reaction to. So, the before reaction. The match is known as the Hell of War match. Now, based on the name, what do you think is going to happen in this match?
I feel like they're gonna like try to end it, like end the feud between each other, like last man standing. Because I mean, I'm assuming they had so many disputes together, and even though they were partners, they want to, you know, just end it and see who's the most strongest man to live between the two.
All right. Well,
I'm assuming that's how it's gonna go.
Well, yes, that's technically what the whole that's what the whole story throughout the match is telling. But so, as I get to show you right now, it's a 2 out of 3 falls match, meaning, you know, like, you know, when you do 2 out of 3 in rock paper scissors, you have to win. You have to pin your opponent twice in order to win.
Oh, okay.
Each fall is a different type of match. So the first fall, meaning the first match, is first blood. Meaning whoever out of the 2 bleeds first loses, meaning the other person gets the first fall. And then after that, it switches to a no disqualification match, meaning anything goes for the second fall. And that one has to end with a pinfall or submission like normal matches, but it is no disqualification. And then the last fall is an ambulance match, Meaning, after all they've gone through those first two falls, if it gets to that point where it's 1-1, they have to essentially, like you were saying, fight till the last man is standing. And when the last man is standing, he has to get the other guy, put him in the back of the ambulance, and send him off in order to win.
Oh. Was there like a physical ambulance? Just
yeah, it was designed to look like a military ambulance type one.
Yeah.
But so that's the build up, that's the context. Those are the characters going into it. The people on the podcast won't get to hear it, but I'm gonna press pause. You won't see that much of a how would you say, gap in time. It's gonna pause it right where it is, and we're gonna pick up right where we leave off right now. But I'm going to this is for wrestling fans. I'm not gonna show Dom the full match because that would take too long, and I don't know if Dom wants to sit through that. So I'm gonna show him a little highlight video of it, and then we're gonna get Dom's honest, raw opinions on it immediately after, and get his opinions on the match, the stories of it all, the different spots that happen. So we'll pause here and we'll be right back. Alright, so like I said, there's probably no awkward pause there between this, but we're back. I just finished showing Dom the match, and alright, so after watching all those highlights, Dom, just real quickly, you don't have to get into any specific spots. I do have a list that I will read to you later just to kind of get your opinions on them, but just overall general opinions on the match. This is raw. He just finished watching the video.
It was pretty intense with the amount of glass they used, and the fact that they used barbed wire. I'm pretty sure that's fake barbed wire, right? They wouldn't use actual barbed wire on the poor guy.
Here's the thing about that. One, the glass. So, most companies, when they want to do a glass spot, right? They'll use what is called sugar glass because it breaks easily and it's not supposed to cut you. This match, they used tempered glass, meaning it's real. It will cut them, as you saw, as it made them both bleed really badly. But they used tempered because not only would it draw the blood, but it would shatter into a million pieces, as you saw, rather than just being these thick pieces of glass. So to compare it, basically when they used the glass, it was as if you were going through a sliding door window. And the barbed wire, I'm pretty sure the barbed wire is real, but it's, trimmed down a bit. So it's not full on barbed wire to fully cut you through and stuff.
Yeah.
But anyways, continue.
So all of the actual blood that was spurted from their bodies was actually their blood.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gee. This must have been actually, painful for the poor guys.
Yeah. I think both men, I don't know, I haven't seen kill shots after picture, but there was a photo of the day after that Dante had taken.
Right.
Here, let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
Right, but to continue on, I kind of feel bad for Dante because it wasn't he the one that was left behind to die?
Yeah, that in the storyline, he was the one that was left behind,
and he still loses.
Yeah, but I think this is the type of match where, because of how hard fought it was, no one looks bad in defeat.
Right.
But yeah, it was a crazy match. As I'm sharing with Dom right now, this was the photo taken after. All those different scars, you can still see some of him is still a bit cut open.
Oh man, that looks really bad.
Yeah, but so as Dom mentioned, this was one of the questions I wanted to ask you about it. Who do you think got the worst out of the two?
Well, I feel like it was Dante because he that final blow on his back when he fell down, as his final push into all those pieces of the glass. I think that was like his biggest hit.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he was the one that landed on the barbed wire and stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure he got hit the most.
Yeah. So let's get into some of the big spots about it. So I'm gonna do some of the smaller spots first. So first off, what are your opinions on like the different times that they did like a chair shot to the head?
Oh yeah, dude, that was a lot amount of times.
Yeah, it's a rare sight in wrestling because, you know, concussions and brain damage and stuff. They don't do it that often. Right.
Yeah, they use a chair most of the time. I think it was just one chair that they used.
Yeah.
Or maybe two. But, like, the amount of time they used it, like, just to smack each other's heads around, dude. I'm pretty sure they would have got, like, concussed midway. But, like, midway, like, their concussion, they just regained consciousness somehow. And just kept on fighting.
Yeah, they really toughed it out with a lot of the spots in this match. Let me go through a couple of the more athletic spots. What did you think about, at the beginning, the backflip that Dante did off the turnbuckle onto Killshot when he was laying on the ladder, and how the ladder didn't break?
Oh, right, yeah. I mean, he smacked him, like, in middle of, like... Didn't he lay it down?
Yeah, he laid Killshot onto the ladder and did that backflip onto him, but yet
it didn't break.
There was that it's called a Spanish fly, but that point where they were both on the outside and then they jumped onto the top rope and flipped into the inside.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like that was like very scripted or something. Like they knew they had to do it. Like,
yeah, that spots like that have to be choreographed for them, because as you saw, Dante almost slipped and it could have gone way worse than it did.
Right.
And then they did it again, but this time they have Killshot landing on a chair, and you saw how badly that chair broke.
Oh yeah, it got bent hard. Oh, then, man.
You have Dante doing that 450 splash onto Killshot when he's propped up on the ladder.
I remember that.
Yeah, but...
Dude, all these are painful. Like, I'm pretty sure in wrestling, is there like some sort of like a safe word or something like that? Like a safe sign? To tell the ref, like, I can't do this anymore. Like, we should just end this immediately.
So there's a couple. When it comes to certain spots, you'll obviously see a ref run over to check on them immediately, right? Especially if it's a big spot. And what the ref will do a lot of times is he'll grab their hand, and if they squeeze the ref's hand, that lets the ref know they're okay. Right. But if not, or like they're not even like responsive, you know, then like that's the obvious sign. And for the ref to let the people in the back know that something's gone wrong, he'll throw up with his hands an X. And the X is to let the people in the back know, you know, obviously the people that are booking the match and the producers and all that, and the people in charge. Yeah, something went wrong. This is actually serious. Get people out here.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
That's their way of letting them know. But
and is that common? Is it common?
It is very rare when an X gets thrown up, and and a lot of times it's rare because, you know, they put in the work to make sure nothing goes wrong.
Right.
But obviously you can't predict it. But the thing about the X is, you know, if you see an X thrown up like on camera, like the camera is focusing on the ref and he does it, that's kind of symbolic to like the viewers at home to know, okay, that might be like a storyline X where they're doing it for, like, you know, the storyline of it, not because someone actually injured. But if you see the ref walk off camera and, you know, and you see the medical staff coming through, a lot of times you'll know it's real because the ref will walk off camera to throw up the X because they don't want the people at home to know, you know, something's gone wrong.
Yeah.
Obviously, they can't do nothing if the people in attendance see them throw up an X, but, you know, they want to make sure at least the people at home don't have to, like, suffer that feeling of, oh, we just watched something went wrong.
Right.
But, so, let me move on to the more brutal spots as this match had shown. The finish of the first fall, because he needed to make them bleed, as I talked about the glass.
Oh yeah.
The spot that finishes it is Dante and Killshot are on the turnbuckle, and Dante flips him off, or basically backdrops him off the top of the turnbuckle. There's two chairs set up with the huge pane of the glass set up between them, and he drops Dante straight through it, and that's what causes the first blood.
I think that was like very rough, because not only did he hit the tempered glass, I think it was, or was the sugar glass?
Tempered glass.
The tempered glass. He hit the glass along with hitting the ground.
Yeah, and from that height,
it literally had those pieces of glass enter his body, causing him to bleed.
Yeah, and
that's brutal.
And here's what makes it worse, because I wish the guy that did the highlight, because he included a lot of the commentary from it. He didn't include the part where one of the commentators, Matt Stryker, says he wishes that the ref, Rick Knox, would stop the match just for a little bit, just to have someone sweep the glass out of it, because they move on to the second and final fall with the shattered glass from that still being in the ring.
Oh yeah.
Which comes into play later when they start getting towards the finish of the second fall. So I'll explain this real quick. So that final spot where, he does the kill stomp, and you see the guy kick out at 1, right?
Right.
I bring this up because I want to explain the significance to you. In wrestling, you'll see a kick out at 1, maybe like at the start of the match when they haven't taken that much damage and fatigue setting in.
Right.
But when someone kicks out at 1, it's really significant when it comes like later in the match. Because, for some people, they might say, oh, a kick out at 1 that late into a match kind of throws out the realistic, like the little realistic bits that the match already has. Because, it's crazy to think that after going through all this hell, someone would kick out at like 1, right? But when it's done correctly, it's used a lot for showing just how like crazy this feud has been built, which, as I explained to you, this feud was built throughout the entire season. And so the kick out at 1 is significant because, like, as the commentators were showing, not only was it off of adrenaline, but it was to show just how crazy this feud has been built, that he's able to kick out at 1 out of just like pure frustration, pure adrenaline, as of not to want to lose this essentially blood feud with Killshot, which is Fox kicking out at 1. But as I mentioned about the glass, it comes into play because I forgot to mention Killshot brings in this huge barbed wired wooden plate, like a wooden plate filled with barbed wire on it, and props in the corner. After he kicks out at 1, he kicks Dante, gets him up, and power bombs him straight into this barbed wired plate. And if that isn't enough, you see even the ref like was shocked, right? Don Bite.
Yeah.
If that wasn't enough, Dante having to pull himself off that barbed wire, his whole back is bleeding. Killshot then picks him up and does his driver, which he picks him up. This is kind of hard to explain non-visually, and drives him down straight into the mat and onto glass, because as I mentioned, the glass was still there. And that's what ends the second fall. Killshot picks up the second fall, meaning they go into third fall. And the camera shows it. As he rolls away, you just see Dante's whole back is a bloody mess with glass on it as well. So not only did the poor guy have to get powerbombed straight into barbed wire, he then had to get his back driven into glass.
Jeez.
So like, what did you think when you saw that spot, Dom?
I feel like they should have just stopped it after the barbed wire. Because he's already taking enough pain from the barbed wire on its own, but the fact that he's going to be landing on the glass again, after like all the hits that he was on the glass or something.
Yeah.
I feel like they should have just stopped it on the barbed wire and just sweep the glass off just so he wouldn't get hurt further on.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that would have actually hurt him he's already hurt. But I feel like that just crossed the line in like absolute like brutality.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is about all this is, you could literally see like at different points when the camera's angled a certain way, you see the ref, you see the ring announcer, and some of the ringside crew are all kind of like almost like in disgust, like cringing at like what's going on and stuff because of how brutal it is. And speak of brutality, when I showed my dad this match, I had to give him a warning because I knew he didn't want to see this piece. But they thankfully, most of the third fall doesn't take place in the ring, so they don't have to worry about the glass much. But
right.
Third fall, like I said, ambulance match. They bring out the gurney for them, like to strap them in. You know that's obviously one of the options: is strap them to the gurney and put them in the ambulance. But you can obviously just put them in.
Yeah.
But so there's the gurney there, and as you saw, they had different spots of it. And speak of brutality, there's the point where the gurney's set up on the outside. Killshot and Dante are at the top rope. Dante gets him up, and similar to before, drives him down. This time, kind of most people would know John Cena and his finishing move, so much like the Attitude Adjustment does that from the top rope to the outside where the gurney's set up. Does it, and it's, like I said, speak of brutality, and what makes it worse is the camera zooms in on it. They zoom in, and you see on top of that gurney is a tiny piece of Dante Fox's bloody flesh that had fallen off from his back.
Oh, I don't think I've noticed that.
Yeah, it's that tiny bit of just red on the gurney, and that kind of shows you how brutal that barbed wire and glass spot was for him when he got power bombed into it and then driven on the glass. Was that a tiny piece of his back was just left on that gurney. And literally everyone, like, anytime they see that spot, and this is the crazy part, because obviously, you know, it sucks. Like, Lucha Underground was like one of my favorite like promotions during its run, because, you know, like I said, it told a like continuous story, and it did like this thing of seasons.
Right.
And this whole event was shown on TV. It wasn't a pay-per-view. So people were shocked because it didn't get, like, you know, that many, like, a crazy amount of viewers, you know. But people were still shocked that this was shown on TV. Like, this brutal of a match, and then plus that spot where they just zoom in on that tiny bit of flesh was shown on TV.
Jeez.
Because you know how heavily censored TV can be at times, so people were shocked at this. But then you see he straps Fox into the gurney, and when Fox is trying to get out, he goes into the crowd, runs out, and does his stomp onto him while he's still strapped into the gurney, which causes essentially the gurney to break. That was pretty crazy.
Right.
But then you see them fighting, and as they get towards the back where the ambulance is, like that little entranceway to get to the ambulance, you see this setup. And what the setup is similar to before. There's chairs setting up this time an even greater or an even bigger piece of glass pane, but the chairs are propped up onto tables. And so they start fighting, and you see them climb up to this top area where Lucha Underground had a live band that would play like during intermissions and stuff.
Right.
And so you see them fighting up there, and this is the final spot. You see Dante grabs one of the amp cords and starts choking Killshot with it. And to play up the brutality and the realism of this match, you know, the commentaries even state that thing's still plugged in. One wrong move and Killshot can get electrocuted by that, right? And tying into the part where I said it's very much like a television series, you know, you see as he's choking him out, he like starts like looking at the crowd and saying stuff, and that's when the camera shows you like very cinematically, you see Killshot reach out, grab a glass bottle that's on the floor, and when Dante looks back, glass bottle cracked over his head. And the part in the highlight was kind of showing what, like, they were little vignettes that had played to introduce Dante after his first introduction. But I like that kind of inclusion, as if it was like kind of like a flashback for the two. When he nails him over the top, and keep in mind this it's like an elevated balcony. You just see he gets hit, dazed a bit, falls off the balcony straight through that glass pane and straight through the tables below it as well.
I feel like that could have been the most dangerous bit.
Yeah, most definitely.
Because the pane glass was suspended along with like a couple like wooden like tables, right, and like some chairs, right?
Uh-huh.
So like I'm just imagining myself, if you were to like not land it perfectly and like instead like fall a couple inches like forward or backwards, you could have smacked his like head.
Yeah, because it wasn't just like glass pane. This glass pane had a huge like wooden like panel along it, frame.
Yeah.
So
to hold it on.
Yeah.
So you could have literally smacked his head like or on his spinal cord like straight up first if he didn't land it right.
Yeah.
So you got lucky that first fall.
Yeah, and honestly, I think this spot was the most brutal, more brutal than the barbed wire glass spot, because as you see when he gets picked up, his back is way more bloody than at any point in the match. And if you watch like the full match, this was the crazy thing that I mentioned to my dad, and commentary even picks up on it. Throughout the entire match, as you heard, the crowd in the temple was going crazy. But as soon as they saw Dante fall through that glass pane and tables, everyone went silent. Because everyone, much like how Dom was kind of worried, they didn't know if he was okay after that spot. He was just laying there. Obviously, he was kind of selling it, but, you know, you realistically have to sell that because that was probably really painful for Dante. And the part I loved the most is finally Killshot makes his way down from the balcony, gets Dante out of there, picks him up, carries him to the ambulance, opens it up, puts him in. And as he closes the door, you see almost this like expression of remorse on Killshot's face, as if to say, was this all really worth it?
Yeah.
And I think that's like the perfect tie-off to this story. It's just, you know, showing that, you know, maybe the two of them did let their angers and frustrations go too far, you know?
Yeah.
But
I feel like... wait, what?
What do you think? Like, what are your thoughts?
I feel like this could have just all been prevented if Killshot just simply apologized. Like a simple apology or like a heartfelt apology would probably just bring them back together as one. But as you said, I think their angers and frustration just got to the better of them.
Yeah.
Thusly, Killshot pretty much betraying his brother, I guess, or his partner in crime, or his best buddy in war.
Yeah. Cause let me ask you this: if you were in Dante's shoes, in the storyline perspective, would a heartfelt apology be enough for being left for dead by your brother in arms?
Yeah.
Like, I think that was like the whole thing for it, was, and I think another thing too was, it was kind of weird because for the most part it was almost like they were positioning Dante as the bad guy in all this feud.
Right.
Whereas, it's kind of tough because you got to look at it. That's what I loved about the feud. It was kind of a thing of you have to look at both sides of things, where, yeah, Killshot's kind of bad for leaving him to die out in the Middle East, like in the storyline perspective, but like you also kind of look at Dante as the bad guy for the approach he's taking to it,
Yeah.
And that's why I think the ending was so good, because it kind of showed that in the end, though Killshot won the match, could you really say either man walked away winning it, like as a winner in anyone's eyes after that match?
Damn. Yeah, you got a point there.
Yeah, but
and so was that the end of the story, or is there like a continuation?
That was kind of like the end of that blood. I think that was like the end of like that blood feud, and I think later on it was either before that or even after. I think they had introduced like what was known as the Trios Championship, meaning a team of 3. I think they ended up teaming with another guy and winning those championships.
Oh, nice.
But so after all that, I just have a couple of questions to kind of get more like detailed answers out of you with the remaining 10 minutes. So I already asked you who got it worse out the two, and you said Dante. Overall, how crazy did you think that match was?
I feel like that was very brutal, and like it crossed the lines. And I feel like the refs didn't know when to stop it. And I feel like it was sort of unorganized with the glass that was left behind, but it definitely added to like the immersion of the fight, like the raw, brutal like nature of like this specific Hell of War match, or War of Hell, I think it was called.
Hell of War.
Hell of War. And so, like the fact that they still left a lot of the things behind, the how do you call it, the long use of glass, and that one chair continually being bashed on each other's heads, I feel like that was very brutal. So it definitely brought in the immersion to it. That final glass shot where Dante got hit and dropped on the floor with that all that glass on his back, I feel like that was like the final push into like the brutal nature of it.
And so thinking about what you thought before going into it, like would you have expected any of what was shown?
Sort of. I mean, but I would have expected a little bit less like gore, like less blood. Like maybe I would expect maybe like a nosebleed or something, but not an entire like back, you know.
Yeah, for both men too.
Yeah, for both, just absolutely bleeding from the behind.
Yeah,
but I mean, I'm surprised they both like still stood up like after all that.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm pretty sure Dante was still like left on the floor when it was dropped at the end, but like he, before that, he was able to stand up even after the barbed wire and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, much like when I asked you about when I was explaining the higher power storyline to you back then, would you have been invested in the storyline when it was running throughout an entire season?
I'd say yeah. Like starting off and being able to see how they would try to progress their you know the terrible past that they had to go through. I feel like that would be very interesting to follow up through.
All right. And let's say had you gone through like this whole thing of investing and hearing this and like watching this whole story progress, do you think this was a proper payoff for the rivalry and storyline?
I feel like no. The only reason why is because, like how you said, none of them is really the winner in this case. The first person to betray the other was Killshot because he's the one who left his, you know, is Dante behind to die. But when Dante came back for his revenge, or at least to like avenge himself for what he's done, he chose the wrong approach. He chose the violent approach to attack and not like, you know, seek at least an apology or like a heartfelt apology.
Yeah.
And basically they just kept on fighting it out until, you know, one fell down, unfortunately. That was Dante. But I feel like Killshot would be guilty in the situation because he was pretty much the traitor from the start.
Yeah, and I think that's why the ending of the match, like I said, kind of emphasizes that in a way, because, you know, he showed so much remorse when he was putting him in that ambulance, and in a sense, like, it almost makes it seem like how you're saying, he didn't feel like he deserved that win because of the fact that he was the first, essentially, to draw blood when he left him behind.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that's what, like, you know, if you allow me to just quickly go on a little rant, I think that's what makes wrestling so beautiful, and much like, you know, much like anime in a way, and like movies, obviously, you know, right. It can tell these like really great stories throughout, not only just, you know, the vignettes that they show and the promos and, you know, all that, but they can tell those stories in the ring, you know. If you pay close enough attention, it's not just them fighting, but their facial expressions, their body language, all this stuff, you know, even like the use of like certain weapons, the use of a certain match, it can tell that story. And like I was saying, you know, that the facial expressions can really tell a story and like wrap up a story and tell like all these different emotions and stuff. And right. It's one of the reasons why, it kind of, like, it's one of the things that pained me because, I get it. Wrestling is a niche. Not everyone's going to enjoy it and stuff. But whenever I see storylines and matches told like this, in a way, it makes me feel like not like bad, but, it's just like in my personal opinion, it kind of sucks that, like, when I think about it and just think, man, so many people are missing out on such great, like, storytelling, because I get it. A lot of the wrestling product, as the listeners know me and Mr. Solis voice a lot of the current product, the weekly shows is, like, really tough to watch. But, like, when wrestling's at its best, much like this, like, I think this is an example of, like, wrestling properly, using brutality to tell a story. Like, it's one of the best forms of, like, media telling, and storytelling.
Yeah.
But so, what rating would you give this entire story? Not the match yet, but just the storyline in general.
I mean, I would give it. Just to get more further details, was there a reason why why Killshot had to leave Dante behind to die? I'm assuming it's because, like, they were, like, cornered and he had to escape, right?
Yeah, I think.
Or was there any explanation to that?
I think, like, it was similar to, like, an explanation of, like, like, they were probably pinned down in a certain situation, and, like, Killshot just simply had to leave Dante behind.
Right. I would probably give it, like, I'm not sure how to rate these stories 100%. I haven't seen the whole entire story. I'm assuming the whole entire story is literally just a friend leaving another friend behind and the friend coming back for revenge. I'd give it, like, what, a 7 out of 10, an 8 out of 10? But I'm not sure how to rate it compared to, like, other stories. Maybe they're more intense than this one.
Well, see, that's the beauty of this, is because you're not a wrestling fan, you can give these honest opinions without having to worry about, the different biases or different factors coming into play,
Right.
And finally, we got about 2 minutes left, so what rating would you give the match?
Okay, the match would be like an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, only because, like, the brutal nature was really good. Like, to an outsider, they would see this as, like, completely horrible, but to, like, a wrestling fan, I'm pretty sure that this would be, like, an absolute, like, wonderful, like, dream, per se.
Especially because, like I mentioned, they tied story into it as well. Like, this is the biggest thing for wrestling, is you can't just have things be a spot fest, just doing moves to do moves. What made this match so good was they did a lot of moves, but it was telling of a story,
Right.
Which is just, like I said, it's wrestling at its best a lot, when you're able to incorporate these different styles, but doing it with a purpose.
Yeah.
But, so, we'll finish off here. This has been another episode into the series of explaining wrestling to Dom. We hope you all enjoyed. If you want to seek out the match, it's available fully on YouTube and Daily Motion, I believe. All you have to search up is Killshot versus Dante Fox. As I mentioned, though, a bit of a warning for how gruesome it can get. But so we'll close off here. I want to thank you all for joining us for another episode of the Rule 34 podcast. As always, doors open for anyone to join. I've been your host, Jack, joined by my fellow co-host,
Dom.
I want to thank you all for joining us for another episode of the Rule 34 podcast. And as always, if it exists, we have an opinion on it. Thank you, and we'll see you all in the next episode.